here again. Welcome to the second episode. I bet a lot of you last week were like, what kind of show is this? This one's for John. So I bet you were kind of given looks like this. Who gives a flying hoot? God, this is so long. How many freaking movies does he like? You know, 10 minutes is not enough time to show your favorite movies and talk about them. So I'll talk about a couple today. Is that okay? So I'm going to explain a little more about what the show is about. I'll take a couple movies tonight, maybe 5 if I'm lucky, and I'll talk about them, okay? Okay, so I'm going to talk about Return to Oz first. Return to Oz was released in 1985, and it was directed by Walter Murch. Walter Murch is famous for his screenplay for the George Lucas first film, THX 1138. The film stars Nicole Williamson. He's famous for playing Merlin in 1980's version of Excalibur. Jean Marsh, she's famous for playing Queen Badmorda in Willow. And Dorothy is played by Feroza Balk. She's famous for playing Vicky Valancourt in the 1998 comedy Waterboy. The movie is based on the second and third book of the Oz series, The Marvelous Land of Oz and Ozma of Oz. And Walter Murch never intended for the film to be a direct sequel to the MGM 1937 version. This is like one of my top 5 movies. This movie is incredible. And my favorite thing about this movie is the music. David Shire composed the music, and it is the most amazing. It just fits the movie so much. The music, especially the end titles, the music just brings you into just this feeling that you just really can't explain unless you watch the movie. Now, when you watch this movie, remember that you're not watching the first Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland, so it's not a musical. And it's much darker and creepier, so it's really not for young kids. I advise not for younger kids, because it's kind of scary at parts. Yeah, there's a pretty scary scene with Princess Mombi and her main head. There's a very dark and very suspenseful scene where Dorothy tries to get the powder of life. And another scene is when you first meet the Wheelers. They're just dark and creepy, and if you gotta see the movie because they're just well-written characters. When you see this movie, don't expect it to be like the first Wizard of Oz movie because it's totally different. Okay, it's not the same. Don't expect the same Toto, Dorothy. It's just a totally different genre. But Disney. How silly of me. Let me talk about the movie that I love the most. My favorite movie of all times. Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome. Up to date is the final installment in the Mad Max series. Directed by George Miller. And yes, it stars Mel Gibson as the character Mad Max. It also has superstar singer Tina Turner in her first major role. And the movie was also released in 1985. And you're probably asking yourself, why this one? Why is this Chris's favorite movie of all times? It really did start because of my love for Tina Turner. My mom would tell you since I was 3 years old, ever since she put this movie on, I just got obsessed with it just because of seeing her be this cool character and hearing the song We Don't Need Another Hero, which is my favorite song also. And anyone who doesn't know that song, it was the song in my first episode in the beginning. But everybody knows that's the song from Mad Max 3. But no, she's just amazing in this movie. But as I grew up and watched it over and over and over, I've realized that she's amazing, but there's just other great things about it too. It was directed by 2 directors. George Miller started the project, and in the middle of the movie, he lost his best friend in a helicopter accident. So he was kind of like bummed out. He didn't know if he could do the movie, so he brought in another director to help him. You know, George Miller really supervised the action scenes, and another George was the other director's name, and he helped with the scenes with the children, the lost tribe of children. And if you haven't seen the movie, great key scenes are towards the end, the chase with the train and all the vehicles that you see coming on the bottom here. Great scene. Another great scene is, of course, the famous Thunderdome arena scene. It's just filmed in this small arena. It looks really good filmed. Fact for you here, fun fact, Bette Midler was going to be originally playing Auntie Entity, the Tina Turner character, and George Miller thought Tina Turner would be a better choice. So obviously here we have an A+ movie. Everyone's usually seen this movie and likes it, but this movie has led to great movies throughout history. Labyrinth. Let's talk about Labyrinth. Those who have not seen it need to see it. For those who don't like it, oh well. There's a big, huge fan base that love this movie, and it stars Jennifer Connelly, and of course the superstar David Bowie. And basically the story is Alice in Wonderland with Muppets. Jim Henson Muppets. What could be greater than that? Basically the story is about poor Sarah, who wishes her baby brother, who won't stop crying, will be taken away by the Goblin King and all the goblins. David Bowie plays the Goblin King. He takes the baby, and what do you know? Sarah changes her mind. She has to go get her brother through this labyrinth. Good scenes in the movie is this scene right here with David Bowie in the Rooms of Illusion, and he's walking on the walls and ceiling. Good scene. Legend. Legend is a favorite in our household. We've been a big fan of the movie since it came out in 1986. It was one of Tom Cruise's first films, and Mia Sara's first film. And Mia Sara is famous for her role as Sloane Peterson in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And of course, it also stars Tim Curry. Tim Curry is famous for his Dr. Frankenfurter in the musical Rocky Horror Picture Show. This movie has an incredible makeup job by Rob Bottin. It features really awesome devil makeup and gargoyles and fairies, and it's just a very dark film. Like, I know I've been saying dark all the time. Everything I like to watch is dark and creepy and very Grimm's fairy tale like, which this story is very much like. I recommend this movie big time. In its day when it came out, it was not a big hit for Ridley Scott. This is actually my second favorite Ridley Scott film. Even though I love this movie, I recommend Blade Runner and this movie. And Alien. If you're to see this movie, watch the theatrical version first, then the director's cut. Then you can see the difference in it. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope I explained a little more about what my show is about. Look forward to future episodes of me, giving my reviews, commentary on makings and stuff. There'll be later shows on, me talking about horror movies or greatest characters, villains. I'm going to do my best to push out movies as much as possible, but what we watched today were actually my top movies that I really liked the most. I mean, it was hard to pick from that big list that you saw last week, but really the 4 you saw today were really ones I could watch over and over and over and tell you everything about them because they're just great films, and I'm glad I showed them to you. So,